guys, we're back with one of the first chessbrah tactic videos that we've released on this channel. I'm hoping to walk you guys through my thought process, what patterns I'm looking for, what's going on in my head when I'm doing these tactics training puzzles, and hopefully you guys can learn and get some insight into how I'm approaching these problems and how you guys might be able to use them for improvement and training and stuff like that. So we're on chess.com right now. We've got some chill music in the background. Solomon. This is a brand new set playing in the Kappa Music Festival. This is in Italy. You guys can look it up online. And without further ado, let's get into the tactics. Alright, knight c3. So the first thing we check very quickly is the material. It's dead even. Knight c3 has been played. The immediate move is queen d2, but you have to check if a move like this fails to whatever black has in store, which is going to be defending the knight. After a move like queen d2, there are no moves the knight can make that are tricky, anything like that. I'm just going to check about the dangerous moves black could play with other pieces, because after queen d2 we are going to win the knight unless rook c4, or it looks like bishop to b4, just knight takes. So it looks like rook c4 is kind of the only idea. Yeah, and rook c4 to me looks like it's kind of holding the position. It feels like it's kind of holding the position there. So after knight c3, where else can we attack the knight from? Queen b3 is another way to attack the knight, which defends c4. So I'm kind of working backwards once I find a move like rook c4, which poses a little bit of a threat, because after rook c4, guys, knight d5 is coming, rook c8 is coming. There's no way I'm putting enough pressure on that knight. So it looks like queen b3, and where can the knight go? Well, not d5, not e4, not b5, so knight a4 or knight a2, but then feels like rook a1, just pin and win that knight there. It feels to me like that's working. I think working backwards with queen b3 is going to help us on this one. And just rook a1, and there we go. Alright, so it wasn't the immediate queen d2. We got to be careful. Sometimes they're going to try to throw you off. Okay, these ones usually involve some type of giving up one of these pieces, especially the bishop, to get a fork or something. But let's have a look at... we've got to examine closely how many squares the black king actually has available to move to. That's probably going to play a big role. So let's see. Well, I don't feel like knight d6 is doing anything particularly good. No, I don't like knight d6. A move that does have some ideas is something like g6 here. g6, and if pawn takes g6, that's where we are a little bit stumped at the moment. I suppose b3 check is also a consideration, but he's not going to take it and maybe allow bishop d5. So I feel like g6 is the area where this game is going to be won. Bishop takes h7, queen takes f7 is not giving me enough. So I feel like g6 is the move, and now it's just about finding out why that's maybe the move. g6, pawn takes g6. Then the question is what is our next move here? What is our next move here? I wanna at some point fork the king and queen with either my knight or my bishop. This is a tough one. g6, because if pawn takes on h6, we just take on h7 and we promote next turn. That's too easy. So it's h takes g6. We've already identified the absolute critical variation, and somehow we need to keep our h-pawn here. I'm still looking how we're going to do it, and it looks like g6 takes h7. Is that an idea? And if queen takes h7, then bishop takes g6, queen g8. We're getting close, but I just don't see it working. This looks very tricky. Very tricky. G6, pawn takes, knight d6, king d4, and I don't see how I'm gonna keep my pawns. Don't see how I'm gonna keep my pawns. What I'm thinking of now is g6, guys, and maybe takes, knight d6, and then if king to b3, oh jeez, this is getting convoluted. King b3 could be just a good move there. Ah, king b3, then I take on g6, and then I have bishop f7. So now if king d4, the only other move after knight d6, then I was going to play bishop takes g6. So now if pawn takes h6 there, taking my last h-pawn, what about knight to f5 check? If king to c4 there, I have bishop f7, queen takes knight back to d6, forking. If king d3, I just have discovered check, knight e7. If king d5, I have knight e7, so I'm going to go with that. I think g6 first is important. If knight d6 there, and then g6, black could play pawn takes h6. So I feel like this one is first, then this one. Oh, I'm wrong. I wonder what I miscalculated. I really thought I had that one. I was looking at king b3 here, like king b3, and then bishop takes g6. Sorry, king b3 just bishop g6, and I have bishop f7 or h7 next move. I'm still a bit curious what... Ah, here's what it is. King b3, bishop g6, queen d5 check, and then queen d2 is what I missed. Sometimes it's so simple. Sometimes it's so simple. But I felt like I had the right ideas there, so instead of that, what's the different order that we need to do things? Of course, guys, so simple. I bet it's bishop takes g6. I bet it's bishop takes g6. Let me do it again just to try it. I think it's gonna be... Oh, it's not bishop g6. Well, I'm really trying to make this tactic of mine work with knight d5, but it's just not working. So let's look at the solution. g6, pawn takes, h7, and bishop g6 as I suspected, but what was it after queen g8? Oh, actually, there you go. Sometimes you have the right idea in the wrong order. So it's exactly the idea that I was telling you guys with my bishop on g6, but the difference is that it all comes with tempo here. So that was one of the first variations I mentioned, h7 takes, bishop takes, but after queen g8, I didn't stop to look at that. I thought queen g8, I'm not going to be able to get a fork or anything. And then I got carried away with knight d6, king d4, bishop g6 here, and if pawn takes pawn, then all those lines work, but what's really important is h7 and doing it that way. So, okay, you can see the patterns that I had in mind though. They were a part of the solution, but doing it in the wrong order. Doing it in the wrong order. Alright, new tactic. This one's in the opening, so it gives me the impression it's definitely very forcing and possibly just winning material. With the king on g8, you always have to look at this diagonal, a2 to g8. I'm getting some checkmating vibes here, that's for sure. Some bishop or queen on the long diagonal is looking very tempting. What's it gonna be? d5 is looking good. Of course, knight takes e6 is a huge temptation. I wonder what happens after d5. Bishop takes, I almost want to play queen takes d5, but maybe that one's not going to work. Bit optimistic there. Bishop g4 is a serious option here. So I think knight takes e6, bishop g4, bishop h5, or d5 are the serious options. d5 because if knight takes, then I'm thinking of bishop c4. We also have to look at the material. It's 2 pawns for a piece, so white probably has to go for something Pretty forcing here. Knight takes e6 is the move I would probably play just in a game, offhand, like just very quickly. Knight takes e6. It's looking good. d5 is the move I want to play though. Just want to make that one work. So bishop g4, bishop takes g4, queen takes g4, and I feel like black kind of gets the initiative back. I don't have a direct threat in that position, and I don't like that feeling. So knight takes, queen takes, then bishop g4, and then if queen to e7 or something, I want to set up some check on this long diagonal. That's what I want to happen. Yeah, it's not so easy here. I'm leaning towards knight e6, but I also get the impression that this problem might be a little trickier than meets the eye. So I think the main things I'm considering here are bishop g4, as I said, and trying to get this d5 move to work. I know offhand this is a pattern that's in my head, that if the bishop takes, sometimes you can sack your queen and like play bishop g4, stuff like that. Or sorry, bishop c4, but that stuff doesn't look like it's gonna work here. Not quite. Not quite. And if knight takes, queen takes, then bishop g4, queen e7. Just looking for some kind of breakthrough there, and I'm not exactly sure what that might be. Man, it's definitely tricky. Definitely tricky here. Knight takes e6 is the only one that's giving me good vibes so far. Knight takes e6, queen takes e6, bishop g4, queen e7. But I'm really missing the killing blow if it's there. And my d5 move is looking like it's not working, unfortunately. Well, I'm leaning towards this one, and then I'm thinking of potentially d5 here, but once again, I think queen takes is enough, and I don't know if I have any tricks there. Yeah, I don't see any ideas there. So bishop g4 is looking like one of the top moves. And actually after queen e7 I have bishop g5. There's something that we missed. And I have bishop e6 after that. So now this is a lot better, because something like queen f3 looks pretty good. What else? I want to get to e6 with the bishop, if I can make that happen. e6 also looks like a pretty damn nasty threat. I'm gonna play e6 here. Oh, I thought I would get it. Knight f6, I was playing rook takes f6. And then like bishop h5 and or bishop f5 and queen g4 mate or something. I thought I would get it with that, but actually it looks like probably there I need to just bring in the artillery or something. Okay, d5, just threatening bishop e6. So simple. So simple. That one was a tough one. That one I feel is a tricky tactic, because I think there's a lot of intuitive ways to win this position. Taking the bishop is the most obvious, removing the light squares from that diagonal. Once you understand that, bishop g4, even queen f3 or bishop g5 or e6, I'm sure they're all good enough to win. So tactics like these are always a bit tougher, because the intuition guides us to know the patterns very easily. Oh, just get rid of the light square bishop, but sometimes it's difficult to actually arrange the calculation, because there's a lot of intuitive ways to play that. So let's keep going. Rook c2. Okay, this looks like a pretty harmless position, meaning that I expect the tactic to be somewhat quick, like not too difficult. This looks like a normal position where white just misses a tactical shot. It looks like it's from a game or something. Obviously rook to g2 is nice. Queen h4 attacks the rook and h2 for whatever that's worth. And the rook on c2 is potentially overloaded, guarding the knight on c3 and the pawn on g2. So we can work with some ideas, maybe knight takes c3. If the queen or rook would have to take, then maybe those pieces aren't doing something else that they should be doing. Queen h4, rook f1, and what tactics are we missing? What tactics are we missing there? Maybe rook g3 at that point? But no, I feel like that's reaching a little bit. I feel like that's reaching a little bit. It feels like it's beyond the scope of a problem like this. Black has the pressure on g2. Obviously I want to just increase that, but I feel like that's not so simple. Queen g5 is a move. But maybe even g3 there? Okay, g3, queen h4. But it doesn't feel very forcing, I can tell you that. I'm usually looking for something a little more forcing than what I'm getting right now. Knight c3 forces queen c3, but I don't see any follow-up after that. Queen h4, rook f1 again. So bishop f3 doesn't help us in any position. Neither does bishop e2 or bishop d1. Just trying to give the bishop up as like a desperado or something. So if none of these are working, it's got to be just some like simple build up the pressure type move, like queen h4, rook f1, and the sacks on g2 aren't working, so it's got to be rook takes g2. It's got to be rook takes g2. I couldn't find any like sneaky way to do things, and I think I was overthinking it because this looks simple enough. Something like knight d2 here, something like queen f4 here, all looks pretty crushing. And just take with the bishop. Yeah, that was it the whole time. So just a little sacrifice on g2, not something you always expect, but I think I might have been overthinking that one a little bit. But it's good to hear my thought process, because I didn't actually recognize there's not usually a theme of just sacking a whole rook and going like that, but I realized that there were no other themes in the position. Queen h4, there's no like checkmating patterns or ideas that I recognize the bishop is dominated by the knight in all these positions, so I couldn't really find any other patterns, which led me to play that. So that was more of a process of elimination one for me personally. King e7. Well, the king's in trouble, but black's going to solidify with a move like bishop d5 very soon. I feel like this is one of those, like our knight's tied down on f3 because of queen takes f2 and mate soon. This feels like one of those queen to b8 type of problems. So the first move we can do, because queen b8, bishop takes d5, and if we take that pawn, so what? The king runs back around to g7, no way we win. But rook c7, king d7, and then queen b8 looks like the killing blow. I think this one is going to be, yeah, just an easy, nice and quick one. There were no places for the knight to move to. The queen b8, bishop d5 line wasn't convincing, so that one was a little bit easy. Okay, this one, we know that it's a dead draw if we don't take advantage of the position we currently have. So the king and rook are both on the back rank, and we have some sneaky ideas here like bishop a3 and bishop h6. Rook check doesn't do anything, but for example, bishop h6, king e8, king e6 is almost a move, but rook g6. So I was thinking bishop h6, king e8, bishop to g7, and then if c2, king e6. And then if king d8, the only move to get out of mate there, rook b8 check, king c7, and I have bishop e5 check. So that line is going to win, I'm pretty sure. We'll see if I get this one. Bishop g7. Now I'm setting up the mate, and just a little finesse on the end is I'm not going to go take that rook. I'm going to give this check, forcing king c6. Now you guys see the end. I pick up the queen with this move at the end, and that's that one solved. Alright, queen to h4. Okay, so taking stock of the position, queen f2 is a huge threat, there's mate, and our rook is never going to guard the back rank because our bishop is trapped. So unless we're losing a piece, we're not guarding the back rank for the checkmate threat. So that's to keep in mind. Queen d5 is check. That's also to keep in mind. Queen d5 check looks like a move I have to play because it threatens the rook. And to deal with f2, I can only think of g3. Moves like rook e2 are too passive. We need to be taking the initiative. So g3 attacks the queen and stops the attack. I feel like this move has to be the starter because g3, you know, queen d8, and what am I getting? And otherwise I can't I can't just guard f2 with queen e2, I'm just behind on position. So I have to ruin the pawn structure. And now I'm going to play g3. Rook d8, and now my queen's attacked, so is his. What I'm going to do is a little sidestep here. Queen c5. The rook's going to probably come down and check because the queen couldn't go to e7. Basically I'm threatening mate and the queen. I don't see a single way to stop this. If I go king g2, then it looks to me like rook f2 check, king f2, queen h2 is mate. So that's kind of self-explanatory here. And my queen is going to be guarding f2 and hitting f8. Meanwhile, my pawn was hitting h4. So the reason I think I was able to do that one so fast is because I was stumped at the beginning. I thought f2 is hanging, and I'm going to get back rank checkmated. Move like g6, queen d8. I don't have a threat anymore. I have to ruin the pawn structure while I can. And then g3 is the only move to really keep the initiative. Moves like rook e2, just rook d8, and I'm getting mated. So this one is obvious. And now with my queen under attack, you know, rook d1 is going to be mate unless I make another threat. So I have to threaten a mate of my own. And here is just finesse with rook e1. So we're able to complete that one. Let's keep going here. Okay, I always have to figure out which way the pieces are going. So white is going up the board. So king d7 threatens e7 check. So king d7 is going to get met by bishop to g4. And that's just going to be a draw, or a loss, excuse me. King d6, however, then if bishop takes f7, e7 check. King g8, bishop b3, and I'm going to queen my pawn, it looks like. And I'm going to queen my pawn. King there, queen takes e4, I think that should be winning, so I can't let the king get to f7 or the bishop sack there. So king d6 to me is a must do. And what's he planning? Interesting. So he's planning e7, king takes, and then king move, and bishop is going to guard that square. So what I'm thinking of is how to finesse this position. Bishop a4 would threaten the e8 square, but then bishop f7, e7 check, king g8, and he gets to play king h8, and that bishop stays there as far as I can see. So I need a move where bishop takes f7 does not work. And I think bishop e4 does the job. And if bishop takes e7 check, king e8 is mate, king g8, bishop d5 once again is going to work. So there, if c3, then e7, king takes, and then how am I queening that pawn actually? How am I queening that pawn? Wow, is it the move bishop to h7? I think it's bishop h7 there. Takes away g8 and g6 from the king. And after bishop g7, what, f5? Still not so simple. Feel like we're getting warmer, but I'm not quite there. Bishop e4 is the only move though, because bishop there doesn't work after bishop takes. So bishop e4, bishop f7, e7 is forced, king g8, or excuse me, bishop takes e4, bishop f7, e7, yeah. We already looked at that, sorry. Bishop takes e4, c3 was what we're looking at. And then this e7 move was failing what I saw to king takes f7, so we have a preparatory move. In the meantime, do we play bishop c6 in that position? No, right? Bishop c6? Yeah. Bishop takes f7, e7 check, king over, and then bishop d5. I think that works. Oh, he's gonna take it. I think this was the easier variation to calculate. Okay, maybe I overthought things, because yeah, obviously this is the easy one. Okay, maybe we got too carried away there. We saw that variation a long time ago. Alright, our rooks are not coordinated. This is very bad. But there seems to be a tactical idea here with knight h4. And then if king takes f1, queen h3, the knight is pinned and I'm mating on g2. Also after knight h4, if pawn takes, I like the fact that my queen can get into h3. So let's just find a way to make that work. Maybe knight f4 is the better way to do that, actually. Let's double check there. Knight h4, king, well, have to do pawn takes. And then, well, there's not many moves. Rook 1 takes f2, bishop takes f2, queen h3, king h1, I don't see my mate. I don't see my mate there. Huh. Yeah, not so easy. Not so easy. I wonder if the move knight e3 is actually going to be useful at any point in this problem, but I'm kind of guessing not. The way I see it, it's something with queen h3, queen g4, followed by like a knight h4, knight f4 move. So I see the ideas. We have to recreate them in the right order though. Rook takes f2 first. Just bishop takes, and I'm not seeing anything extravagant there. Also have to remember this guy is covering the third rank, which is quite annoying. Quite annoying. So yeah, it feels like knight f4, knight h4 has to be the first move. But then takes, and what on earth is the follow-up? Yeah, it's gonna have to be knight h4 takes, rook takes f2, bishop takes, and then queen g4. King f1. What are we looking for there? King f1. Well, I'm trying to do a discovery with my rook, but that's not quite working. I'm thinking knight h4. Knight h4 takes, rook takes f2, bishop takes, queen g4, not h3. Queen h3, I think king g1, and I'm not really threatening anything. Queen g4, king f1, and this is where I'm a little stumped at the moment. Queen h3 there, king g1, as we just mentioned, and am I missing something obvious in that position? Because I don't see it. I do not see it. My only other ideas are knight d2 and knight e3, but those don't seem to be bearing any fruit. It's got to be a knight h4 move to start it off. That's really weird. It would be funny if a move like knight d2 was the first move, now that I'm looking at the position. It would be really weird if that was the case, and I don't think it is. But sometimes it's a strange move that ruins the coordination of the pieces that actually gets you the win. But no, I feel like it's knight h4. Guys, this is a tough one, knight h4. I'm quite convinced on some of the moves I've been saying because I just don't see any alternatives. That's the tough part. Rook f2 seems forced after that. And then where is my win? Where is my win? Bizarre. I can't seem to find the win after knight h4, honestly, guys. It's making me think that it's not right. But then, I really don't know what the answer is. Well, the other option is rook takes f2 and then queen h3. But I don't see that working much better. Rook takes f2, bishop takes queen h3, king takes knight f4 is what I'm trying to do. I don't know if I can get that to work though. I don't know if I can swing that to work. Yeah, it doesn't look good. Alright, well, it looks like the best option that I have here. Jeez. Looks like maybe my best option is rook takes f2 and queen g4. Jeez, that was a tough one. I can definitely say either I'm not familiar with the pattern, and there you go, I'm learning a new tactic pattern, or I just couldn't calculate properly. Let's see what it was. That rook takes f2 and rook takes a1. See, I was looking at none of this. And the reason that I'm happy that this is the answer is because it means I didn't really miss a tactical theme. Of course, I did miss a tactical theme, which is just rook takes and rook takes. But I was really trying to grind out a possible checkmate idea here, and I couldn't find it. And if I had missed it, that would have been worse for my chess, like if I just couldn't see one. But no, it's a more basic tactic, just removing the defender and using the pin there, and just finding the queen g4 follow-up. So that's me overcomplicating things, which I tend to do when I start to say my thoughts out loud. You guys get a first-hand look at the crazy stuff going on inside my brain. And in that case, it was way too complicated for what it needed to be. Okay, bishop d4. I wonder what this tactical theme is going to be. Bishop takes g6 is a pretty huge threat here. King g7 is the kind of obvious move, but it doesn't even look good after rook takes e5. It looks lost. So the question really is, first of all, who is even playing for a win here? I have to first make sure I understand how black's even okay here, because it looks like it couldn't be very good. Well, it's got to be bishop takes d4, I'm feeling like. If pawn takes, then the bishop hangs, and if rook takes, then queen takes c3. So that's not a very complicated one, I think, because these moves are kind of forced. And I'm just going to grab the bishop. Oh, let's be careful. Rook takes rook first, because otherwise we would lose. Otherwise, for example, here, if you rush that one, queen takes bishop, rook takes rook, I think. Does that work? Yeah. Queen covers the rook, and rook takes rook sets up the pin on our rook on d8. So just had to be a little careful there. Next one. Rook takes d4. Okay, we obviously have to try to queen without allowing the rook to sack for the pawn. This is one that you can't really miss the theme. It's just pure calculation. So I mean, king d8 comes next. If we play king f7, there's rook f4. So e7 is a forced move. Rook e4 is not a forced move. Rook f4 could happen, but then king e5, and I think we're queening no matter what. So rook e4, forced. I think. Excuse me, rook e4 is not forced. Rook d8 can be played. And after rook e4, we just win with knight e6, because king d7, knight to c5 check wins the rook. So e7, rook d8, I think is going to be the critical line. e7, rook d8, and then obviously I've got to try to preserve my pieces here. What about a move like king f7 in that position? No rook e8, no rook f8, no rook d7, can't move the rook anywhere because of e8, and the king has to guard the rook because I'm going to take it. And if king moves to, the only place to guard it is c7 and then just knight e6 check. That's looking convincing to me. Okay, there's a move I didn't really consider, and it probably makes quite a big difference. Let's have a look. Yeah, if king f7, then rook d8, it's not black's turn. That's his idea with the zugzwang, but I think if king e5, just rook d8, and then rook e8, take my pawn. So this is kind of forced. Or not. Must have done that one a little bit too fast, guys. Yikes. Well, king e5, rook d8 did look like it was pretty convincing. But I'm betting that it's king g7 needed to be played there. Rook d8, king f7. That wouldn't surprise me. Just played that one a little bit too fast, I feel like. Yeah. Okay. What I was going for, well, this was the final position I thought of. Just played a little too fast around the patterns there. But what I was thinking was king f7, rook d8, and then I was going to play knight e6, rook over. Excuse me, knight e6, rook d7. So yeah, this is the only way to do it. That's for sure. Yeah, so I just played that one a little fast. And that's a shame because, you know, there's really no excuses when it comes to endgames like that. Obviously, the only way you're going to get it wrong is playing fast. So I don't really have excuses there. Alright, what's this tactic all about? White's position looks horrible, but bishop g6 is obviously not the answer. What is the answer? Something involving the queen here? Bishop takes f2, knight takes f2 in the air, knight g3 is in the air, knight takes c3 is also possible. Just have to decide really what we're going for here. Bishop g6 does not feel like the answer, even though it, you know, there's some nasty threats there. Bishop g6. What does he do? He doesn't have to do anything. It just, there's nothing forcing. I feel like it should be forcing. Knight takes c3. She takes h5. And we're not exactly taking the house down on that move. Knight c3, gh5. The only move to really put pressure is queen e4 and then just rook e1. I don't see what comes next. Wow. Knight g3 takes h5, and what exactly am I doing? Where's my win? I'll be really upset if it's bishop g6 because I am trying to find something. I don't think there's any way to trap the queen. Yeah, I'm gonna be quite upset if it's just bishop g6. And I'm feeling like it might be. The more that I look at this problem, the less patterns I see that I'm familiar with. The queen, the black queen, has no useful moves. Except queen d6, actually. Hang on. Is queen d6 an interesting move? I'm trying to play queen g3 check. And actually, how does that get stopped? Okay, tell me that's not it. Queen d6. Interesting. Well, if gh5, that's gonna get probably mated. Yeah, that gets nearly mated. Queen g3, king h1. At least knight f2, rook takes, bishop takes should lead to some mate there, yeah. Yeah, that's mate. That is mate. Or material loss, let's say. Queen d6, king h1. Or king g2. King g2, and then do I have anything? Oh, bishop takes f2, actually. Yeah, I think I actually like this queen d6 move. Oh, there you go. Just a one-move tactic, but I think a lot of us would, you know, just panic at the fact that I don't see any ideas here that I recognize. It's a completely bad position for white, but in a game, I would probably play bishop g6. Queen d6 is something that, you know, it takes a keen mind or a very astute mind to stop and focus on this position, because I don't see any tells here that, of course, there are tells everywhere that white's position is bad, but there's no hanging pieces, there's no simple tactics. Queen d6, a very subtle move. So there's a tactic there for you. King d3. And what do we have here? Well, knight f4 is really screaming. So is just rook takes e1. There's a lot of moves here. Well, rook takes e1, queen takes e1. There's knight f4 check. Hang on a sec. Knight f4 check would win if he had to take our knight, but he'll play king takes d4 there. Rook takes f3. Oh, hang on, that might be it. Rook takes e1. Has to be knight takes, because if queen takes, just rook f3. So rook e1, knight takes, and then rook takes f3. If queen takes, knight e5 wins the queen. If knight takes, then... oh, we're so close there. We are so close, yet so far. Rook e1, knight e1, and my mind is going crazy with ideas. What could we do? Rook e1, knight e1. Something like bishop takes f2 even just looks crushing there. I'm sure this is the continuation now. Rook f3 to me doesn't work because of knight f3. I don't see the follow-up. Yeah, I just don't see it. Bishop f2 though, it's kind of a funny move, but I really think that it just works. Rook check, I have king h7, not going to get mated or anything like that. Bishop f2, just simply removing the knight and then taking the bishop. If king e2 there, then what do I have? Then I have queen e1, bishop e1, rook e1, because he has to keep the king defending the bishop. Knight f4 check. King has to defend the bishop, so king f2 and king e3 are the only moves. King f2, knight d3, followed by knight e1, and the bishop's hanging at the end. King e3, knight g2 check, forking the king and the rook because of the pin, and just winning. So I honestly feel like bishop takes f2 is right here. Yeah, I think I had a good feeling about that. And now we just take this. And there we go. But this only works because of that tactic I just mentioned with, you know, seeing all the way to the end that if king e2, maybe there's a better move I'm missing, but king e2, knight f4, king takes f2, I don't see a mate there. So king e2, we have to play queen e1, and then that line I just mentioned with knight f4 check and the two knight forks that win us the game there. So that one was okay. Now moving on here, rook d8, and what do we have? Something on g7 that should be glaring at everyone. That's the idea here. Could be something back rank as well for the king, but something like rook g3 is asking to be played. Queen c7 also really asking to be played. Actually, after queen c7, what does black do? How do you defend g7 here? Let's see, queen c7, there's no rook f7, the rook's hanging. There's no rook d7, no queen e7, has to be queen g4, right? And at the very least, queen g4, knight h6, forking the king and queen, pawn takes rook g3. That's already good enough. Oh, excuse me, queen c7, queen g4, just take the bishop is even winning. So, queen c7, what are we missing? How does he defend g7 after queen c7? I don't see it. Is it that simple? That seems weird. No, come on, that's too simple. Queen c7, what gives? There's no checks. Rook f7, rook d7, impossible. Queen g4, only move that. What? Alright. Sometimes they're easy, and that's the way she goes sometimes. Alright. a6. So we're going to be able to stop this pawn only with bishop there, because bishop e4, c4 happens. But we have to do things in the right order here, because we're trying to queen our h-pawn, not our g-pawn, because bishop h2. That should be clear to you guys. You always queen where the bishop can't touch the queening square in general. But based on where the bishop is, moving this would only free it to play bishop h2. So we're going to have to maybe play bishop c8 and then run our h-pawn. And I imagine the h-pawn queening is going to have to deal with the a-pawn queening. That's just my feeling about this position. Either that or something something else. Either that or, excuse me, simply just king takes and then get a queen. That could be just simple enough. Bishop c8, a7, bishop b7, d6. Yeah, I don't see anything too special there. h3, d7, h2, d8. So maybe it's honestly just king takes here. King e2? Is that really gonna happen? No, I feel like king f4, a7, g2, a8, get a queen by us is good enough to win. He doesn't have enough checks in that position. That seems good to me. Bishop c8 doesn't look like it's good enough after d6, for example. Yeah, I honestly feel like just this is the move. Simple as. Wow. I was, you know, just trying to see maybe there's enough time for this pawn to stop that pawn from queening, but simply speaking, I wasn't getting anything from my calculations that black was in time. I think just taking the bishop and queening, we're just up a piece here, so that's that. Alright, offhand, I don't like the look of this position. It feels uncomfortable with the bishop there. We know back rank stuff's going to be a problem. Rook takes f7 is jumping out at me, because if rook takes, queen e8 check. If queen f8, bishop takes f7. And if king g7, we take on... do we? I feel like we take there, king takes, and what? Play bishop e6 and trap that bishop there? Is that even good? I'm not sure. Okay, we're not up a pawn in that position, so that's important. We're not even up a pawn. If I move my queen anywhere, there's going to follow queen c1. So what is the winning idea here? The back rank stuff can't really be avoided. I can play a move like h4, but that's so slow. Rook f7, queen e8, queen f8, bishop f7, king g7. And I don't really have any move there except queen takes, queen, king takes. And is that bishop ending supposed to be winning for me? Bishop e6, trapping this guy here. King e7, bishop c8. That should be good. a5, bishop takes, c5. I mean, that should win, but that feels like, you know, it's not what the tactic wants me to find. Feels like it's not good enough, you know? But I don't see another answer. Okay, the only other answer I see is b4. The reason I like b4 is that these threats aren't going to go away. And it threatens bishop takes f7 instead with queen e8 to follow. And That looks like it's decisive. So b4, king g7, queen e5 check, f6, queen e7 check, king there, and I'm taking the rook with check. That should lead to mate. So no king g7. After b4, queen takes a4 or queen b2. I'm going to take with bishop on f7. That's important. Rook takes queen e8. So I feel like b4 is an important move to get the queen out of f8. All those things I calculated so far, the lines work better after the move b4. So h5, and now we're going to do what we thought, I think. Rook takes f7 now is even stronger. So if the king got out of the way, rook takes f7 wouldn't work. We were going to do it with queen e5 check and the bishop. But now rook takes f7 looks deadly. Rook takes f7, rook takes queen e8 check, king g7, queen takes king h6, queen f8, king there, queen f4 mate, king h7, bishop g8, and that's a mating pattern. So this looks decisive. You guys have to know this mating pattern, that's for sure. King h6, queen f8, king h7, bishop g8, and then bishop f7, queen g8, queen g6. Otherwise, if the king runs to g5, queen f4 should wrap things up there. Alright, we're on a bit of a streak here. We got two wrong, and one of them I know was know exactly why. It's a bit of a rush. But let's try to think clearly and get on a streak here. What are we thinking now? Bishop h3, the obvious move, fails, I guess. To what? Bishop e6 or some trick there? Maybe queen takes, rook takes, bishop e6, bishop takes h3, and we might not have enough to win. That could be possible. But it definitely feels like bishop h3 is not the right move. No. That can't be the right move. We don't have enough material, I think. However, what is the right move? First of all, white has some checks he's threatening. Queen g8 is one of them. What can black actually threaten here? Maybe bishop h3 is the move? There's a finesse afterwards? That's possible, but unlikely. Be funny if a move like king b7 was it. Just threatening bishop h3 properly. And how does he stop that? If king there, then rook g4. Actually, speaking of, rook g4 right now, where does this queen go? Queen h3 loses to rook g1. Queen h2? Yeah, queen h2 looks like that could be good. Good enough for white, I mean. But I was actually looking at this move, king b7, strangely enough. And let's say queen g8, or no, let's say queen g3. Rook h1, king e2, queen e7 is going to win the rook. Check. Queen g3, rook h1 just wins the rook, yeah. So queen g8, rook h1 is the same thing with queen e7 at the end. Queen can't go anywhere else except g1, and queen g1, probably a move like queen f3 followed by bishop h3 or rook h1 is killing. So honestly, I feel like king b7, just the quiet move here. White's pieces don't have any squares to move to. I really think king b7 is the answer. Threatening bishop h3 properly. If king g1, rook g4. If king e2 after king b7, then we have bishop to g4. And if f3, bishop takes, queen takes, rook h2, wins the queen. Bishop g4, king goes to d2, queen f4. And the king is getting stuck there. Yeah, there's just nowhere to move. King is just, yeah, almost made it, has to play rook e3. And then we just win the rook. So I feel like king b7 is the move here, yeah, okay. Bishop g4, bishop f3 is the line we were looking at, winning the queen with rook h2. And there we go. Alright. Okay, this looks like another one of those ones. This is the kind of one that I got wrong before. We are going to be checking the black king with the rook, most likely, and using some sort of desperado technique to fork the king and rook, maybe. That's what I'm thinking. If knight d4 check, the king has to go to... no, sorry, king there's no rook e6, because we're going to lose the pawn endgame. So, Interesting. We have to, okay, rook f1, king e6, we4. King e5, we play d4 check, and then king d5, we have the fork again. King e6, we still have the fork. King e4 is the new move. And what do we do after king e4? That's the one to think about. You know what I've just thought of? Rook f1, king e5, d4 doesn't work because king e4 I don't see any forks. What I'm thinking of is rook f1, king e5, king g5. And the reason I want to do this is rook f5, believe it or not, is actually going to win the queen. King to e6 is forced after that check, and knight c7. So, where does the queen go to avoid that? If queen b6, I have rook f5, king e6, rook f6, winning the queen. If queen a5, I have rook check, king there, knight discovered double check, sorry, knight discovered check, knight c7, and just rook takes queen. Queen a4. What do we do on queen a4? Then we play d4, that same move we were going to do earlier. Does that work? Ooh, he has king e6 this time. Let's have a think, wait. Sorry, then we play rook e1 check. Our king's on g5, king on e5, rook e1 check, forces the king to d5, then knight c3 wins the queen. Queen a2, same story. Queen a1, hanging queen. Queen a8, we do the rook f5, king e6, knight c7. So I think that's all the moves covered. And any queen move along here, I'm going to be able to play rook f5 check. Here, yeah, queen e6, I have d4. Queen a2, what did we want to do here? Rook e1, forcing king d5. Yeah, and here. There we go. Just have to find the finesse move, which is king g5. There were no checks with the queen. Once you find that, the rest sort of falls into place. Let's maybe do one or two more here. Let's have a look. King to g7. Okay, we're up a piece. We are up a piece here. And where is my opponent going to checkmate me? Quite honestly, guys, if we're up a piece here and c3 is covered by the queen, I don't see a single good check for white. This is about playing good defense. Now, after e4, where's the checkmate? Like, if you find me a checkmate, then I'm scared, but e4 threatens bishop h6, check, and that's going to get me a lot of, buy me a lot of time. So he needs to do something drastic. Rook f1, I mean, I'll just take all that material. I'll just take all that material. Is it really e4 here? I wonder. Bishop d2, also a consideration. And then after rook f2, I could play rook d1. Rook takes. It gets messy, I can see that. Rook f2 after bishop d2 is not simple. There are some tactics for black there. So I feel like e4 is the move here. If rook f2 after e4, we are getting mated, so we have to find a checkmate for white. Bishop h6, king f6. Where does the queen go? Queen d8 check, king e6. And are we really mating with a lone queen? This I'm not sure of. This I'm not sure of. Although something that can happen is e4, rook f2, bishop h6 check, king there, queen g4. And I don't think he has any mates here. It's risky though. This is a tough one because you know that you almost have it in the bag, but you need to find the finesse move here. We're up material, so we just need to not get mated. The mating ideas are with rook f2. The mating ideas are with rook f2. And rook h7 is not really a working idea in any variation here. That's why I'm not really considering it. Bishop d2, rook f2. I don't see any moves after that. So e4 is the only move because we just have to get that bishop out. E4, rook f2. Bishop h6 with check feels like the only move. Yeah, king f6. And then we're threatening mate on e2. And the only way to stop that is queen to g4. We have queen d8, king e6, and then queen d5 check, king e7, and then, oh man, there must be some mate there. Bishop g5, king f8. It's getting a bit kind of, I don't really see the mate there. I don't think it would be this complicated. Don't feel like it would be this complicated. E4 feels like the right move, I just can't justify it at the moment. Rook f2 is tricky. Bishop d2, rook f2 is not working, so it's kind of the only move. I know e4 has to be the first move. Rook f2, threatening rook, queen e2 mate. The only way to stop that is queen g4 or give a check. Yeah, so it's got to be bishop h6, king f6. And maybe I can use this moment where the king is disconnecting the two rooks to potentially do something. Maybe this is one of those it gets easier as you go problems. Whoa, hang on, where was rook f2, buddy? Oh, I wasn't thinking about this. This looks way easier to deal with. Oh, come on. Just bishop check and long castle, right? You're not fooling me. I know about the long castle rule. Oh, I can't long castle? Oh, man. That's no fair. That would have been fun. Okay, so... Man, I really wish I could long castle. Well, actually, I can take... No, I can't take f5. That's wrong. Maybe time for some checks. Queen d8 check. If king e6, taking on f5 is with check, so rook e7 forced. Yeah, but this is gonna work. Oh, okay. Well, this is check now. Okay, hang on though, guys. I was a bit sort of baffled by rook f2 here. What am I supposed to play, I wonder? Rook f2, bishop h6, king f6, and what, queen g4, king e7? I didn't think it was that easy. Come on, I don't know, that's not that easy. Sometimes I don't know, sometimes you really don't know why you're not getting it. I expected rook f2 here, so that's why I spent a long time on that. I'll have to go back and look at it. Alright, this type of problem is going to be a draw if he can find coordination, but his king and bishop, for example, a move like that wins the piece. We just need to get that bishop off that line. So, for example, knight f3. Knight f3, if the bishop moves anywhere, you know, we just win with rook a5. So knight f3, bishop c3. If bishop b4, rook d4 will win. Right? Ooh, maybe not. Knight f3, bishop b4, rook d4, bishop c6. Knight e5. Yeah, knight e5 should be the move there, after bishop c6. Both bishops are hanging, and if bishop c3 or something sneaky, I always have rook d8 check. Yeah, that looks good. So knight f3, bishop d4 doesn't work. And knight f3, bishop c3, then... Well, then just rook c5. And if the bishop leaves the diagonal, rook a5 wins. Bishop b4, rook c4 now. Bishop d1 is a move there, though. That's tricky. That's tricky. I'm looking at knight f3, bishop c3, rook c5, bishop b4, rook c4, bishop d1, attacking my knight. I can't get rook against bishop, that is a draw. Knight f3, bishop c3, maybe rook d3 instead of rook c5. Because still if the bishop moves, I have rook a3. So the only move I can see after that that stays in the game is bishop b4. And then rook d4, just like we calculated before, should work. So I think that looks good. I think that looks good. Just check again, knight f3, bishop d4, rook d4. We're winning the a4 bishop. If this guy moves, if the bishop moves to c6, attacking the knight, we have knight e5 there. And that should be working. Okay, looks like it. And this was when we played a rook d8 check, takes, rook c8, and grab the bishop. So because that tactic was working there, we were able to, you know, once we knew that tactic was working, we just had to rule out all the other moves, and there weren't that many, so kind of process of elimination. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a row. Let's go for 10 in a row and maybe make this the last one. Let's see what we can do here. E5, okay, we're getting crushed on material. That means it's a checkmate problem. It has to be. It absolutely has to be. So what's it gonna be? Does he have a threat that is gonna be check? Yes, he's probably gonna play rook c1 and take there, so we have to probably do this with all checks. If queen to d5, rook f7, what's going to be our winning move after rook f7? If rook takes f7, that's getting close. Rook c1 check, king takes, queen takes g5. I can't really vouch for how well that's going to work. But if I play a move like queen h4, the question is if I can mate. And at the very least, he can play queen takes g5, and I don't think there's a mate there for me. He can sack his queen like that. He has so much material. So I feel like it has to really be with checks, honestly. Queen d5 is forced, I think. Rook f7. Rook f7 is forced. Queen a8, just rook c8. For example, the queen is protecting it. So queen d5, rook f7 looks kind of forced. And then it looks like we might have to avoid some checks in a sneaky way here. Rook c1. If we go king b2, there's rook c2, king a3, rook c3, king a4. We are kind of escaping there. I wonder if that's it. Rook c1, I could take it, but I didn't really know what to expect from this, because he takes my knight with check, my king moves, and then he plays a move like king h8 out of the... Or no, sorry, not king h8. What would he play there? No, excuse me, queen g5, there's just no way to escape the checks. King b2, queen d2, king d1, queen b1, or g1, excuse me, and queen takes f2. So I can't let that happen, but queen d5 I know is a forced move right now. It's the only check. So queen d5, rook f7, rook takes, rook c1, king b2, trying to avoid, and I'm running to a3, a4, b5, just sort of running up the board, and I have this nasty discovered check, you know, kind of waiting for him as soon as I get the chance. Let's say queen d5, rook f7, rook takes, knight takes b4. Then I play queen a8. So if he ever attacks my queen, I play queen a8, I think. Just double check that. Queen d5, rook f7, rook takes f7, knight takes b4. Maybe a move like... Man, this is maybe not so simple. Although, I don't think it's complicated because queen d5 looks completely forced to me. I don't have enough material to do anything else. Oh, queen a7 might be a move, though. Have I missed queen a7, or is there rook c7? Okay, maybe I'm just hallucinating. No need to do that. Yeah, I don't think that was necessary. Queen a7, just knight c7 or something. Yeah, definitely not working. Queen d5 looks like the move. Rook takes f7 kind of has to be the move. And here, I was expecting knight b4, but just like last problem, I feel like I was barking down the wrong path there. King b2, knight b4. Okay, so this is what I was considering, but now it's just I have queen a8 to choose from. I have queen b7 to choose from, and then I also have all these luxurious discovered checks. What to do? What to do? Well, queen takes d6 even looks pretty convincing. Queen a8 check, rook c8. Not seeing the win there. Maybe queen b7. But there's also not necessarily... He's gonna play rook c2 next, and then can I escape the checks with king a3, rook there, queen takes... I don't know, queen f4 comes into the picture, that gets pretty complicated. That gets pretty complicated. I feel like queen d6 is pretty direct, threatening mate on f8, and the knight on b4, and the rook on c1. The only check that looks dangerous is rook b1, actually is now a dangerous check because of d2. Actually, no, queen d6 covers that. It's very nice. Rook b1, king takes d2, rook takes queen, and the queen covers the queening square on d1. So that's making me feel like queen d6 is absolutely the right move. Queen d6, rook b1 doesn't work. Rook c2, king a3, rook c3, just king a4 or king b4. I'm just taking material at that point. So yeah, let's do this. This is forced. And well, this is forced. Don't see any other tricky moves, and there we go. That is 10 in a row. Problem solved. To finish things off, that was a lot of talking, guys. I'm not sure if this will be, very interesting or very boring. Watch it if you want to. See my thought process of my tactics, insight, how I approach them, what I would do. But I think this was a pretty good glimpse of maybe some of the mistakes that I make in calculation, and also hopefully some of the good things that keep me at around 2834 is my current tactics rating. I started at about 2800, so I don't do these so much, but around 2850, I feel like that's a pretty average level for my rating. And we really tried to spend the time today, not trying to do them necessarily quickly, but trying to see if we really spent time, and I tried to explain things, if we could solve them together. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't know if there'll be many of these, so I thought I would make one chessbrah tactics training with IM Hambleton. Let's see if you guys enjoy this video. Again, listening to Solomon, a banging set just released. Take care, guys, from the chessbrah lounge. See you next time.